A decision by the Frisco Independent School District has ignited significant controversy. The district allowed a student accused of murder to receive his high school diploma. This student is Karmelo Anthony, the alleged killer of fellow student Austin Metcalf. The decision has sparked widespread debate across the community and beyond. It raises profound questions about the intersection of justice, educational policy, and compassion. The balance between a student's right to education and the gravity of the accusations against them is at the heart of this dispute. Families, educators, and legal professionals are grappling with the implications. The controversy highlights the complexities faced by institutions when serious criminal allegations involve their students. It forces a difficult conversation about accountability and educational access under extraordinary circumstances. The public reaction has been intense, with many expressing outrage. The perceived injustice of the situation for the victim's family is a major point of contention. This case has become a focal point for discussing how school districts should handle students facing severe criminal charges. The decision has put Frisco ISD under a microscope. Their handling of this sensitive matter is being scrutinized by various stakeholders. The controversy underscores the deep divisions and strong emotions surrounding this tragic event. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Karmelo Anthony will indeed receive his high school diploma from Frisco ISD. This was confirmed as part of an agreement reached between multiple parties. However, this diploma comes with a significant condition. Anthony will not be permitted to participate in any graduation ceremonies. This includes the traditional commencement event. The agreement stipulates his absence from all public graduation activities. This outcome represents a compromise reached after negotiations. The parties involved sought a resolution that addressed various concerns. It aimed to balance educational rights with community sensitivities. The key parties in reaching this agreement were Frisco ISD, Karmelo Anthony's legal team, and the Next Generation Action Network. NGAN is a civil rights organization that became involved in the case. Their participation highlights the broader social justice dimensions perceived by some. NGAN publicly confirmed the specific details of the agreement. They outlined the terms regarding the diploma and the exclusion from ceremonies. Their statement provided clarity on the negotiated outcome. The superintendent of Frisco ISD also confirmed Anthony's exclusion from graduation ceremonies. This official statement reinforced the district's position on that specific point. However, the district's overall rationale for the diploma decision remained less clear initially. A spokesperson for Frisco ISD declined to comment further on the specifics of the agreement or the decision-making process. They cited student privacy laws as the reason for their silence. This lack of detailed explanation from the district has fueled further speculation and criticism. The agreement allows Anthony to complete his educational milestone despite the pending legal case. It separates the academic achievement from the ceremonial recognition. This distinction is central to the compromise that was reached. The decision has been met with mixed reactions, though public outcry has been largely negative. Many feel that allowing a diploma under these circumstances is inappropriate. Others argue for the principle of innocent until proven guilty and the right to education. The involvement of NGAN suggests that Anthony's legal team may have framed the issue in part as a matter of civil rights or educational access. This perspective adds another layer of complexity to the controversy. It moves the discussion beyond just the criminal allegations. The agreement highlights the difficult position school districts face when students are involved in serious off-campus incidents. They must navigate legal obligations, educational policies, and community expectations. This case sets a precedent, or at least raises questions about future similar situations. The compromise reflects an attempt to find a middle ground. It acknowledges Anthony's academic completion while acknowledging the severity of the allegations and the community's pain. Whether this middle ground is acceptable is the core of the ongoing debate. The lack of detailed comment from FISD leaves many questions unanswered for the public. Transparency in such sensitive matters is often expected. The reliance on privacy laws, while legally sound, can sometimes exacerbate public concern and mistrust. The agreement ensures Anthony receives the academic credential he earned. It does not, however, absolve him of the charges he faces. The legal process remains separate from this educational outcome. The decision to exclude him from ceremonies acknowledges the sensitivity of the situation. It recognizes that his presence could cause distress to the victim's family and the community. This exclusion is a key part of the compromise designed to mitigate negative impact. The negotiation process itself involved significant discussion between the parties. It was not a unilateral decision by the school district. This collaborative approach, involving Anthony's legal team and NGAN, shaped the final outcome. The agreement was reached relatively quickly after the incident and charges. This suggests a desire by all parties to resolve the educational aspect promptly. The timing may also have influenced public perception. The details confirmed by NGAN provided the public with the most specific information about the terms. This highlights the role of advocacy groups in disseminating information in high-profile cases. Their involvement shaped the public narrative around the agreement. The FISD superintendent's confirmation focused specifically on the ceremony exclusion. This narrow confirmation left the broader decision about the diploma open to interpretation and criticism. It did not explain the district's reasoning for granting the diploma itself. The privacy laws cited by the FISD spokesperson are standard procedure in many cases involving students. However, in a case of this magnitude, the public desire for information is high. This creates a tension between legal requirements and public demand for transparency. The agreement allows Anthony to move forward academically while his legal case proceeds. It prevents the criminal charges from immediately halting his educational progress. This is a key argument, likely made by his legal team and GAN. The controversy underscores the difficulty in separating a student's academic life from their alleged actions outside of school. This case forces a confrontation with that difficult separation. It challenges conventional notions of how educational institutions should respond to severe off-campus conduct. The compromise aims to respect Anthony's academic achievements while acknowledging the gravity of the allegations. It is a delicate balance that has proven highly controversial. The public debate reflects the differing values and priorities at play. The agreement is a legal and administrative resolution to the educational question. It does not resolve the emotional or moral questions for the community. Those continue to be debated intensely. The decision has prompted discussions about school policies regarding students facing felony charges. Many are asking if existing policies are adequate. This case may lead to reviews and potential changes in how districts handle similar situations in the future. The involvement of NGAN suggests that issues of race, equity, or systemic fairness may have been raised during negotiations. While not explicitly stated in the outline, NGAN's mission often involves these areas. This potential dimension adds another layer to the controversy. The agreement ensures that Anthony receives the credential necessary for future endeavors, such as college or employment. This is a significant outcome for him personally. However, for the victim's family and many in the community, it feels like a profound injustice. The decision highlights the limitations of a school district's authority. While they can impose conditions like ceremony exclusion, they may have limited power to withhold a diploma if academic requirements are met, depending on state law and district policy. This legal framework likely influenced the agreement. The controversy is a stark reminder of the real-world consequences of violence. It brings the impact of the alleged crime directly into the educational sphere. The community is left grappling with how to reconcile these two worlds. The agreement is a pragmatic solution to a complex problem. However, its perceived lack of moral clarity for many is the source of the intense backlash. The debate continues over whether the right decision was made. Karmelo Anthony is identified as an 18-year-old student. He attends Frisco Centennial High School. His age makes him an adult in the eyes of the law, which is significant for the criminal proceedings. Anthony was a student in good standing academically. He had completed all requirements necessary for graduation. This completion of academic duties is a key factor cited in the decision to grant the diploma. His academic performance was strong. Anthony maintained a 3.7 GPA. This indicates a successful academic career prior to the incident. Despite his academic success, Anthony is accused of a very serious crime. He's accused of fatally stabbing Austin Metcalf. This accusation overshadows his academic achievements in the public eye. Anthony's legal team asserts a claim of self-defense regarding the stabbing incident. This is his primary defense strategy. The legal case will hinge on whether this claim can be proven. His attorney has publicly stated there is no reason to disbelieve the self-defense claim at this time. This statement reflects the defense's confidence in their position. It is intended to shape public perception and influence legal proceedings. Based on the accusation, Anthony was charged with first-degree murder. This is a capital felony in Texas. The charge reflects the severity of the alleged crime as determined by prosecutors. Following his arrest, Anthony was held on a high bond. His initial bond was set at $1 million. This high amount reflected the seriousness of the charge and the perceived flight risk or danger to the community. However, Anthony was subsequently released from custody. His release followed a reduction in his bond amount. The bond was reduced from $1 million to $250,000. The bond reduction is a significant legal development. It suggests that the court, after reviewing evidence or arguments, found reason to lower the financial requirement for his release. This decision is often based on factors like the strength of the evidence, the defendant's ties to the community, and the nature of the alleged crime. Anthony's release on bond allows him to be out of custody while awaiting trial. This is a standard part of the legal process. However, for many, his release while facing a murder charge is deeply concerning. His status as a student who completed graduation requirements while out on bond is central to the controversy. It highlights the intersection of the criminal justice system and the educational system. The school district had to decide how to proceed with his graduation status given these circumstances. The self-defense claim is a critical element of the case. If successful, it could lead to an acquittal or a reduced charge. The legal process will determine the validity of this claim. Anthony's background as a student with a good GPA adds complexity. It presents a contrast between his academic life and the serious allegations he faces. This contrast is difficult for many to reconcile. The charge of first-degree murder indicates the prosecution believes the act was intentional and premeditated. The defense's self-defense claim directly challenges this interpretation of events. The trial will be a battle over these competing narratives. The bond reduction process involves legal arguments and evidence presentation. The defense likely argued that Anthony was not a flight risk and that the evidence supported a lower bond. The prosecution would have argued against it. Anthony's release on bond allowed him to potentially return to some semblance of normal life, including completing schoolwork. This ability to continue his education while facing such charges is precisely what has caused outrage for many. They feel it minimizes the severity of the alleged crime. His age, 18, means he is treated as an adult in the criminal justice system. This is different from how the case would proceed if he were a juvenile. The adult system involves different procedures and potential penalties. The fact that he completed graduation requirements while the case was pending is notable. It suggests he continued his studies despite the immense legal and personal pressure. This completion is the basis for the district's decision to grant the diploma. The 3.7 GPA indicates academic diligence. This aspect of his background is often cited by those who argue for his right to the diploma. They separate his academic performance from the criminal allegations. The self-defense claim is a legal defense that acknowledges the act occurred but argues it was justified. It requires demonstrating that Anthony reasonably feared for his life or safety and used necessary force. The burden of proof for this will be significant. The attorney's statement about not disbelieving the self-defense claim is a strategic communication. It aims to frame the narrative early in the process. It does not constitute proof, but it signals the defense's approach. The first-degree murder charge carries a potential sentence of life in prison or even the death penalty in Texas, though the latter is less common for 18-year-olds without specific aggravating factors. The stakes in the legal case are extremely high. The reduction of bond is a decision made by a judge. It is based on legal standards and arguments presented by both sides. It is not an indication of guilt or innocence, but rather an assessment of risk and the likelihood of appearance in court. Anthony's release on bond allowed him the freedom to pursue the completion of his high school education. This freedom, while legally granted, is viewed by many as inappropriate given the nature of the charges. The victim's family has expressed significant pain over this. His status as a student facing murder charges while graduating is unprecedented for many in the community. It challenges their understanding of how the system should work. The focus shifts from his academic record to the allegations against him. The background details paint a picture of a student who is academically successful but allegedly involved in a fatal confrontation. This duality is at the core of the public struggle to understand and accept the district's decision. The legal process will ultimately determine his fate regarding the criminal charges. The tragic incident occurred at a track meet. This was a school-related event, though the confrontation itself may have been personal. The location was a public gathering associated with school activities. The date of the incident was April 2nd. This places the event relatively recently, adding to the raw emotions surrounding the case. The timing is significant, as it occurred during the school year, leading up to graduation. The location was Cannibal Stadium in Frisco. This is a familiar place for students and the community. The violence occurring in such a setting was particularly shocking. The dispute that escalated into violence began over seating under a tent. This seemingly minor disagreement tragically spiraled out of control. It highlights how quickly conflicts can escalate with devastating consequences. An eyewitness account provides details of how the dispute unfolded. This account is crucial evidence in the legal case. It offers a narrative of the events leading up to the stabbing. According to the alleged exchange described by the eyewitness, Austin Metcalf asked Karmelo Anthony to move. This simple request initiated the confrontation. The interaction quickly turned confrontational. The eyewitness account alleges that Anthony responded with a threat. He allegedly said, "Touch me and see what happens." This statement suggests a readiness for physical confrontation. Following this alleged verbal exchange, the account states that Austin touched Anthony. The nature or force of this touch is a critical point of contention, especially regarding the self-defense claim. This action is presented as the immediate trigger for the violence. The eyewitness account alleges that Anthony then pulled a knife. The presence of a weapon escalated the situation dramatically. The act of producing a knife in response to a touch is central to the prosecution's case and the defense's self-defense argument. Finally, the account alleges that Anthony stabbed Austin. This action resulted in Austin Metcalf's death. The stabbing is the fatal outcome of the escalating dispute. The details of the incident are subject to legal interpretation and dispute. The self-defense claim will focus on the nature of Austin's touch and whether Anthony's response was reasonable, given the circumstances as he perceived them. The prosecution will likely argue the response was excessive and premeditated. The eyewitness account provides one perspective on the events. Other evidence, such as forensic reports, potentially other witnesses, and Anthony's own statement, will also be considered in court. The legal process will attempt to establish the definitive sequence of events and the intent behind the actions. The fact that the dispute started over something as trivial as seating is particularly poignant for the community. It underscores the senselessness of the violence. Many struggle to understand how such a minor issue could lead to a death. The location at a school track meet adds another layer of tragedy. School events are typically seen as safe spaces. The violence shattered that sense of security for students and parents. The alleged threat by Anthony is a key piece of evidence for the prosecution. It suggests an aggressive stance and potential intent. The defense will need to counter the implication of this statement. The nature of Austin's alleged touch is vital for the self-defense argument. Was it a shove, a tap, or something else? The defense will argue it was a physical act that justified Anthony's response. The act of pulling a knife is a major escalation. It transformed a verbal or minor physical dispute into a potentially deadly encounter. The defense must justify why Anthony felt the need to use lethal force at that moment. The stabbing itself is the tragic conclusion. The location and nature of the wound will be part of the forensic evidence. This evidence will be presented in court to support or refute the different accounts of the incident. The eyewitness account, while important, is just one piece of the puzzle. Witness testimony can be influenced by perspective, memory, and stress. The legal process will scrutinize this account carefully. The incident details are the foundation of the criminal case against Anthony. The prosecution will use these details to argue for his guilt. The defense will use them to support the self-defense claim. The community's understanding of the incident is largely shaped by initial reports and the eyewitness account. This understanding fuels the strong reactions to subsequent decisions, like the graduation controversy. The perceived facts of the stabbing are inseparable from the debate over the diploma. The tragic outcome highlights the dangers of conflict escalation. It serves as a grim reminder of how quickly disagreements can turn fatal. The incident has left a lasting impact on the Frisco community. The legal proceedings will delve deeply into every detail of the incident. The precise timing, actions, and words exchanged will be meticulously examined. The outcome of the trial will depend on how the jury interprets these events. The incident details are painful for the victim's family and friends. Reliving these moments through news reports and legal discussions is undoubtedly difficult. Their grief is compounded by the ongoing controversy surrounding the accused. The alleged actions of both individuals leading up to the stabbing are under intense scrutiny. The sequence of events, from the seating dispute to the fatal blow, is critical. The legal case will seek to establish the truth of what happened in those moments. The presence of a weapon at a school event is also a point of concern for the community. It raises questions about safety measures and security. The incident has prompted broader discussions about violence in schools and at school events. The eyewitness account provides a narrative framework for the incident. However, it is the legal process that will ultimately determine the facts. The trial will be where the competing versions of events are tested. The incident details are the reason Karmelo Anthony faces a murder charge. They are the basis for the entire legal case, and they are the context that makes the decision to allow him to graduate so controversial for so many. The tragic events of April 2nd at Cannibal Stadium remain at the forefront of the community's mind. The details of the seating dispute, the alleged threat, the touch, and the stabbing are central to understanding the depth of the controversy. The path forward involves both the legal resolution of the criminal charges and the community's grappling with the educational decision.